Coming up on Midco Sports tonight, we recap all of this past weekend's NSIC football action. We'll show you the highlights, and David Brown is in studio for some analysis. Then it's Coach Talk. Hear what Bubba Schweigert and Bob Nielsen have to say about their weekend games. And finally, Trick Shot Tuesday, featuring our friend Chad from Sioux Falls and his pal Josh impressing us all with some extreme tubing. All of that plus much more, Midco Sports Tonight kicks off right now. Welcome to the show. I'm Kelly Stewart, and this is Midco Sports Tonight, Week 8 of NSIC football. Already in the books. We had 7 games on Saturday, so without further ado, let's roll the highlight film. Starting with Sioux Falls up in the Twin Cities against Concordia St. Paul. CSP strikes first with a field goal. USF responds. Ian Feber to A.J. Garrow in the back of the end zone for the 8-yard touchdown, capping a 13-play, 81-yard drive. Coup up 7-3. Fast forward to the fourth quarter. Jason Towns takes the handoff, bounces outside, and he is gone. Tiptoes his way in for 6. USF cruises to the win, 27-9. Next up to Crookston, Minnesota. MSUM in town. Midway through the second quarter, Jacob Sinani hits Grady Bresnahan, and he can't be brought down. Goes 55 yards for the touchdown. It's 21-7 Dragons. Sinani was actually named NSIC Offensive Player of the Week. Here's another reason why. Hits Hayden Swartz with a 17-yard touchdown pass. Sinani goes 27-34 for 378 yards on the day with 3 touchdown passes. MSUM wins 49-7. After suffering a crushing loss to Minnesota State the week prior, Upper Iowa took on Augie, and Ryan Rubley gets loose and takes it into the end zone. The quarterback keeper, 42 yards for the score, tied up at 14. But Upper Iowa QB Brent Lammers said, "I can do that too," shoots the gap. He's got some wheels, 40 yards for the go-ahead touchdown with 9:51 left. That would be the game winner. Upper Iowa steals it on the road, 21-20. Back to northern Minnesota we go. Minot State and Minnesota Duluth, and John Larson hits Dominic Bonner with the 15-yard touchdown pass. They get the 2-point conversion, and it's 8-0 Bulldogs. But then a little bit later, 13 seconds to go before half, Larson again, this time hitting another one of his favorite targets, Jason Baltz. 22 yards for the score, 28-0 at halftime. Duluth gets their second shutout in 2 weeks, 37-0. Our next game, Wayne State at Winona State. Warriors looking to stay perfect, but Wayne State comes out guns blazing. Aaron Belisle hits Lane Sullivan. He had some room to run. 59 yards for the touchdown pass. Wayne State up 13-9 early, but it would be pretty much all Winona State for the rest of the game. Check this out. Eric Berth finds a gap and scampers 54 yards for the touchdown. Warriors remain a perfect 8-0 on the year, winning 42-19. Aberdeen a busy place for pheasant hunting this weekend, but also for football, welcoming Bemidji State. Nick Trewin gets the Northern State Wolves on the board with this 20-yard touchdown run, 7-zip NSU. But here comes Bemidji State. Andrew Lukowski would bring it around the edge, and he sprints this one all the way into the end zone, bringing the score to 37-17, and the Beavers go on to win 44-17. Finally, St. Cloud State at U-Mary. In late second quarter, U-Mary's Nick McCain under a little pressure, throwing on the run, and hits Deshaun Gay, who does the rest. That's a 61-yard touchdown pass, but will be U-Mary's only score of the day. Deshaun Gay still making it rain, though. 9-7 Huskies. 3 minutes left in the third quarter. Huskies QB Dwayne Lawhorn fakes it to the running back. I think even faked the camera guy out a little bit. Takes it 3 yards in for the score. 16-7 St. Cloud State. They go on to win 33-7. So a variety of highlights from over the weekend. We still have 2 teams perfect at 8-0. Winona State, Minnesota State. We'll get to that a little bit later.
Absolutely we will.
But 2 teams on the rise, I feel like, too. Minnesota Duluth and Bemidji State. But of all these wins, what was the most impressive, David Brown?
Well, last week I said it was Minnesota State over Upper Iowa with a 45-point road win. Well, on Thursday Night Football, they get a 47-point road win. Look, Southwest Minnesota State, they've been decimated by injuries, but they were at home on a Thursday night, and they hung tough in the first half. They had a 4th and goal early in the third quarter, and that could have cut that lead to 16-7 or 16-8. The Mavericks come with a big stop. Then on the very next play right here, Justin Terramine 89 yards the other way. Later in the quarters, we sped things up. I don't think he's that fast, but he could be that fast.
Maybe.
Later in the quarter, 2 blocked punts. So over the span of 13 minutes, Minnesota State scored 5 touchdowns and just ran away from the Mustangs. The old saying, it rains, it pours, or Ron Burgundy, that escalated quickly, really got out of hand fast. back-to-back road wins by a combined 92 points is just insane. Now, record-wise, the Mavs were supposed to win this game, and on a short week, they could have used any number of excuses to explain away maybe a close game or an incomplete game, but they got it done, as the cliche goes, in all three phases. A rushing offense that continues to overwhelm opposing lines, a defense with playmakers that fly to the ball, and a special teams unit with the best field goal kicker, in my opinion, in the country, in Casey Bednarski. Hit a 63-yarder earlier this season, hit a 51-yarder against SMSU. So in all three phases, plus the blocked punts for that special teams unit, all three phases, Minnesota State just absolutely dominated Southwest Minnesota State. That's the most impressive win of the week to me.
Yeah, they're impressive. A variety of playmakers, like you said, all three phases. But if we're going to pick one playmaker for the MVP of Week 8, who would you pick?
It's become cliche, but I'm going to go with Bemidji State's Andrew Lukowski again for the third straight game. He set a new career high in rushing yards. Last week it was 184 in Bemidji State's win over Northern State, and he salted away, as you saw in the highlights, with a big 70-yard touchdown run late in the fourth quarter. He and Taki Nomain have provided a rushing attack that's one of the best in the country, let alone the NSIC. And Lukowski's versatility also comes into play here. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's flexible, being that flex back. Credit to the Beavers' offensive line for creating running lanes that have allowed Lukowski to shine. And as I've mentioned previously, his ability to attack gaps not only runs up his stats, but it eases things for the passing game as well. Jordan Hine, a bit of an underrated passer kind of when we talk about all the big playmakers. He still has 22 touchdown passes. He leads the conference in touchdown passes. It's Lukowski getting the accolades right now, but again, that's just freed things up for Hine. That's why Bemidji State's offense has scored more than 40 points in 5 straight games.
Yeah, a team that's definitely on the rise, and he's a huge reason for it. So that's pretty much last week. Now a huge week in Week 9. A lot of big matchups ahead. What are you looking forward to?
Well, there are a couple big games on the schedule. We've got excellent matchups, but we're going to start with our Thursday night game right here on Midco Sports Network, and what I think is going to be the Thursday game of the year. Minnesota Duluth at Bemidji State. Both of these teams are 6-2, 4-0 in division play. Keep in mind, both have followed a similar path this season. They both started 1-2, unprecedented to see both these teams below 500, but since that time, they've each won 5 in a row. For the visitors from UMD, it's been defensive late. Back-to-back shutouts against Northern State and Minot State. First time that's happened for UMD since 1984. They're playing lights out right now. They're going to need that defense to be on its P's and Q's this week against Bemidji State. Quarterback John Larson is starting now after returning from injury, and he had an efficient game, balancing both the pass and the run. On the other side for Bemidji State, it's been all offense. As I mentioned, the Beavers have scored 40 or more points in each of their last 5 games, and like UMD, they're also doing it with a balanced attack. I mentioned already Andrew Lukowski, as well as Jordan Hine through the air. So this is strength against strength. You're seeing a bunch of different playmakers come up for Bemidji State. Hine completed passes to 8 different receivers on Saturday. Jacob Anderson, as you'll see right here, he had 8 catches coming into this ballgame, had 6 in this game alone for 69 yards and 2 touchdowns. The fact that there's so many offensive weapons on the Beaver side shows this is a strength versus strength matchup. Can that UMD defense, which has shut out its past 2 opponents, rise up to the challenge against arguably the best offense in the NSIC? It's going to be a really fun one on Thursday night.
Yeah, something has to give on Thursday. Love those Thursday games, but also a variety of great matchups on Saturday. So what are we looking at there?
Well, obviously, we have the key to the city game here on Midco, Augustana, and Sioux Falls at 12 p.m., but without question, the one people are going to be most intrigued by. Winona State at Minnesota State, the 2 remaining unbeatens in the NSIC. 8-0 Warriors versus 8-0 Mavericks. Number 10 in the coaches poll in all Division II versus number 3. I can see this game going either way, but I honestly think there's more pressure on the home team from Minnesota State simply because of their schedule. Their last game of the season is at Sioux Falls. Max Mickey may be back from injury by then. Remember, Winona beat USF earlier this season when Mickey was out. They had the easier quote-unquote schedule the rest of the way. Now, at this point, it's a fight for that automatic conference bid, being undefeated and playoff positioning. So this game has massive implications. Barring the unforeseen, I still think both of these teams are going to make the Division II playoffs, but there's still a ton on the line Saturday. Both have strong running games, strong defenses, and reliable special teams. The ultimate key, I think, is going to be turnovers. Winona State leads the NSIC in turnover margin at +12. Minnesota State is merely even in turnover margin. It's going to be on the Warriors to apply pressure to Minnesota State, but again, that running game has been so good for the Mavericks this season. Nate Gunn, Jace Franklin, Justin Taormina, they can go any one of 3 different ways on the ground, can Minnesota State. So Winona State, can their secondary force turnovers in the passing game? Can their front 7 force turnovers in the running game? Neither of these teams has a lot of weaknesses, but Winona State's ability to get turnovers may be the deciding factor in this ball game, and they're on the road where turnovers can have even extra momentum. 8-0 versus 8-0, you can't ask for anything better.
I'm excited. So basically the theme of Week 9 is something's got to give.
Something's got to give with a lot of these games. It's a lot of fun matchups this week.
All right, well, great stuff. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you. you.
Coming up after the break, it's Coach Talk from Grand Forks. Alex Heinert sits in with UND head coach Bubba Schweigert. Stay tuned.
Midco Sports Tonight, presented by Avera Orthopedics.